Can we please talk about Rebundle real quick before we do that?
Yes.
Can we have like 5 minutes for Rebundle?
No, we have more than enough time.
Real quick.
Yeah,
It's
but
just so
let's
near
go
and
ahead
dear
and
to
talk
my
about it
heart.
now.
I have a personal attachment to this story. Like, we gotta.
Do
talk
you get
about
in with the extensions? I don't think I've ever seen you wear extensions. You always stay with the short hair. Is this something near and dear to your heart because you're the market or you're the actual consumer?
Well, let me break it down for you. Let's talk about Rebundle though.
Let's tell folks what it is first. So yeah.
Rebundle is a hair-focused startup that is based in St. Louis. Sierra Imani May and Daniel Washington are the co-founders, but it is a hair company that does extensions made out of plant-based materials. So mostly banana fiber is the core material of the extensions, and they sell them in different colors. They sell direct to consumer through their website, so Rebundle. But they just raised $1.4 million in a pre-seed round, which is huge for a startup of color, especially a startup of color run by women of color.
Non-tech startup.
Run by women of color. I mean, that's to raise more than $1 million is unheard of for that demographic. So shout out to those sisters that are doing the damn thing. But the idea that it is plant-based hair extensions. So hair extensions can either be synthetic, which I don't think anybody really knows what that means and what they're made of, or they can be human hair. And I can tell you, 20 years ago, easily 25 years ago now, the scalp issues I have today, the dermatitis I have in my scalp to this day, which I do now manage pretty well with shampoos and different things like that. But the scalp issues I have to this day started because of something synthetic braids that I had that did not agree with the skin on my scalp.
And it wasn't due to the homegirl tying too tight.
It wasn't traction because I had braids. I had braids multiple times before this time that were tighter. And these were micros, so they don't even do micros as tight as other types of braids. But it was the hair. It could have been some combination of the tightness in the hair, but I know for a fact it was the hair had a big part to do in why my scalp was the way it was, like to the point where when I took those braids, I got them to go on vacation. I was in Jamaica, get my swerve on, and maybe synthetic hair doesn't mesh well with chlorine or something in the pool. I don't know. But when I got home and took those braids out, my scalp was a mess. It was just a sore. My whole scalp was one big sore to the point where, I couldn't get relaxers I didn't get a relaxer for like a year and a half. My hair grew really well during that time, but I couldn't get a relaxer. I couldn't do anything to my scalp. It was so raw and so tender and so bad because of these extensions. And just the idea that they may have come across a product that won't do that. And I know there's a bunch of other sisters out there that have a similar story to these synthetic hair, because you don't know what is in that synthetic hair. You don't know where it's coming from, what kind of petroleum products they using to make it look straight, anything like that. We just out here buying this stuff from these beauty supply stores with no knowledge of what it can possibly do and how it can affect our bodies physically. So the idea that, they wanted to be more sustainable and wanted to be more intentional about the stuff they put in and on their own bodies, that helped them to come up with this product is amazing. And I was like, we have to get the word out there and blow these sisters up, because this is a huge problem in the Black community. Y'all know sisters love changing their hair up, and if we can get a product that'll help us do that more safely, I'm all for it. And thank God they got more money to do it.
I know for a fact that there are a bunch of folks who watch this live stream, who listen to this podcast, who absolutely know how big of an industry the Black hair care industry is.
Exactly.
But I also know that there's a lot of folks who watch this live stream, who listen to this podcast, that have no clue how big the Black hair care industry is. So this $1.4 million that Rebundle has gotten is huge. Number one, as Steph said at the beginning, this is not something that happens a lot for a woman Black owned business that is not tech getting funding. It is extremely rare. But getting it in, this industry is probably just as rare because you have a lot of big giant corporations that are trying to capitalize on the black hair care products because it is such a big business. So I'm just happy to see that these young ladies have been able to launch this and get the funding that they have, and I'll be interested to watch and see how they grow, because if this hits, it'll hit. I mean, they could be huge in a couple of years time.
And so to piggyback off what you just said, Rob, and to kind of circle back, Stephanie, I find it odd, but I don't find it odd that black hair care industry is such a large industry to where these young ladies can get 1.4 million, and I don't want to say like nothing because that's a lot of money, but the fact that they were able to get 1.4 million for a non-tech startup means that there is serious money in the black hair care industry. But even still, it still perplexes me how it's such a large industry, but we do not corner this market hardly at all. And if we do, it's a very low percentage. And what I mean by that is black created, black owned hair care products. Now, we can think of a bunch of hair care products that we use. We go to the beauty supply store and we get all these products that have our faces on them that are marketed directly to us. We're not making them. We're not distributing them. We are not selling them in our stores. I
push back a little bit on that because it's
up until now.
Yeah,
right,
changing quite a bit.
Right, and that's kind of the whole point I was getting to, is to now we are finally starting to take a hold of this industry that directly affects us directly, and we're finally starting to take ownership in that, which is why you now see Rebundle getting 1.4 million. I've got a homegirl, a good friend of mine, and she does something similar to where she creates and sells hair care products, but I think she may be outsourcing the actual product from another country. So the fact that these ladies are doing it themselves, they're doing plant-based because
and they plan to set up their manufacturing here in the United States,
and they're setting up stuff in the United States here because I'm a guy, but it's common knowledge that when you get synthetic hair to put in your head to do box braids or whatever, you're supposed to dip it in something in order to alleviate the irritation that you get from putting it in your hair. So this is not something that they're just making up. This is a known issue, and the fact that they're actually tackling it, and the fact that they were able to get $1.4 million. They're
gonna make me go out and get some braids. That's all I'm saying. I'm about to get some braids just cause.
Means that it's an important product and there's money behind it.
Absolutely.
That's just like a 1-2 punch for anybody, a venture capitalist, somebody looking to invest. Is it an actual problem that needs to be solved?
Yep.
And is there money behind it? If you can answer those two questions, they're going to throw money at you.
And there's recurring money, because that's the third thing. Are you going to get return customers, repeat customers? There is absolutely recurring money behind this all day long. So, again, shout out to Rebundle. Like they are about to blow up. Seriously, I love it for them. I'm so happy for them.